This guy, very fantastic guy. And there is one of these stuff he's always saying, which is Nigeria is a crime scene. Nigeria as a country, as a continent, some people will call it a continent, is a crime scene. And over time, I really didn't understand what this guy really meant by this statement until recently. I mean, a lot of things have been happening in Nigeria that so many of us have actually been ignoring because we're just used to the criminality and the madness that has been happening in Nigeria. That's just basically what it is. We are so used to it that we're somehow detached from how these things are happening. So let me talk about what exactly is making me talk about this. So there's this guy called Deji. I believe most of us actually have heard about that guy. If you've not heard about him, he's that guy who is always following Very Dark Man, who claims he's his lawyer for some reason. I don't know why the guy went to law school. For some reason, because I'll be telling you guys a little bit of stuff that I heard recently that made me realize Nigeria has to be the biggest crime scene on earth. So Deji is a guy who has been popular for a while. I've seen this guy on Twitter, and I think that was the first time I actually ever heard of his existence for some reason. And since I've actually known him for some reason, the first time I knew this guy, I was like, this guy seemed like a clown. I mean, more like a criminal, or some of those guys who are just not serious with life and probably just have a lot of exposure since their background and have a lot of money, and for that reason they are popular online. Yes, because they've got a lot of money to spill all around. But then, over time, because he started supporting a lot of political ideologies that I kind of gravitate towards, I became to maybe soften towards the guy. I think, okay, maybe he's probably a likable guy, and I'm just one of those guys who don't really just like people just knowing them for the first time. And over time, he became affiliated to someone like VDM. I mean, knowing the kind of things VDM has done all across Nigeria, and just trying his best to actually help people, it made me actually feel, okay, maybe this guy is actually really not as bad as he is. Okay, now, what happened in the beginning of this year that Deji suddenly became one of the biggest antagonists of Peter Obi? For those who don't understand, I am not a supporter of Peter Obi. It's not like I'm not a fan or I've got anything against the guy, but I just have the ideology of I don't trust any politician. As long as you're a politician, I'm not going to support you. So that's just my own ideology, definitely. So because I believe most of them are just crooks, to be honest. But then, either you like it or not, Peter Obi is one of the closest to people who are just making any little bit of sense. Most of these other guys are not even trying. But then, I don't support anybody. But then Deji for some reason ignores most of the politicians. I mean, we've got this former vice president, we've got Tinubu is the current president, we've got a lot of crooks all around Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria is a place where if you're looking for politicians to attack, you've got a lot of them. I mean, it's like a bag of chocolates. You've got too many of them that you can attack. But a man who has decided to attack the only one who seems to want to even gravitate towards the youth. I mean, it begs to question a lot of things about this guy's ideology. It makes me feel, does he have something he's hiding? Does he have something that he's not telling anybody or something like that? But of course, if you've got no proof, you really don't want to talk about it much. Now, I was on my phone just a little bit while ago, and I saw this. I mean, this is someone who is a poster, and this post was from 2016, where someone allegedly, or not allegedly, someone had said, allegedly, this particular guy called Deji is actually a criminal, a convicted fellow, someone who is known to the law. I believe you guys know what I mean. Is known to the law. He is a criminal. So allegedly, in 2005, Deji with some of his croons, some of his friends, had invited a particular guy into his house, allegedly. And Deji being the child, a leper child like he said, one of the children of the wealthy people in Nigeria, had access to a firearm and at close range has shot this guy and basically just unalived the guy. I mean, this criminal case was actually something that took him to court and he was convicted. He went to prison on this. But for some reason, this isn't something people talk about in Nigeria. I've always said it. One of the biggest problems of Nigeria is the lack of record keeping. Is the lack of proper record keeping about people. Because, I mean, all around the world, you believe someone who is a convicted unaliver, because I don't want to use that word, is a convicted unaliver, is suddenly coming out as the savior of the people, I mean by proxy through someone like VDM, coming out as his lawyer is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous in any society, and it should be ridiculous in Nigeria. I mean, imagine a man who has served term, and the only reason why he's even still working today is because he's got people in higher places, he's got a lot of influence, and he's got probably, because he actually said this online by himself, that he's a Lepo baby. So Lepo basically means he's one of the children of the affluent. That is the only reason why he's still working. According to the stories, the current Minister for Aviation, which is Festus Keyamo, was his lawyer as at that time. I mean, you're talking, as at 2005, Festus Keyamo was a very influential lawyer. He's one of those guys who, you know, is very influential. These guys don't influence cases by just going to court and talking, but they influence cases by indirectly knowing the judge and being able to say, you can't convict that guy. Or if you're going to convict that guy, you can only give him 5-6 years. I mean, these are guys who are like the creme de la creme, as it said. So the only reason why Deji Adeyanju is still working today is probably because he's got very influential people around him. Now, the question is, how has this gone outside the net for years? How has this not been something people have been talking about? I mean, despite the fact that even someone like BDM, because at this point it makes me question how much he knows about people around him, how much he knows about people he supports. Although I don't expect him to know every single person or what have you, considering the poor record keeping in Nigeria. But then it makes me beg the question, what exactly is Nigeria about? What exactly is Nigeria about? At this point, I believe every single person in Nigeria who sort of holds a political position is a criminal. Is someone who is known to the law as at one point in time. Because to think that our current president is a known criminal or allegedly a known criminal just makes me cringe at the idea of Nigeria. I mean, this story, just made me question a lot of things about the country. Do you guys tell me what you think about this whole idea?
Now, what I'm about to say and my items are that insecurity is part of APC. Insecurity